Hey guys, if you have an interest in developing games, consider joining the WU Game Developers Club. We don't have any more meetings this semester, but we should be back this fall and we'll be meeting every week. It's a great, open, friendly environment. You don't have to have any prior development experience. Take it from me. When I joined, I had no game development experience, and now I've put out nearly 3 games. If you're interested, go to gamedevclub.org.wvu.edu to learn more. Hey everyone, and welcome to Game Talk Episode 9. I'm your host, Ahmed Mian. This week I'm joined by Ken Wu.
Hello.
Jordan Hallow.
Hey, Game Talkers.
And Connor Haynes.
Hey, guys.
This week we're going to start off talking about Vivendi's hostile takeover of Ubisoft. So just kind of a primer for those who don't know. Ubisoft is one of the biggest third-party publishers and game developers in the gaming industry. They have branches all over the world, actually, in Europe and America. And Vivendi is purchasing shares of the company in an unwelcome fashion. So they're conducting a hostile takeover of the company in which they hope to install board members and control company actions from an executive level, most likely oust the current administration, and sort of shape the company to their will, against their will, which is an interesting discussion we're going to get into right now. Just to kick things off, the most interesting thing to me is that Vivendi is not a gaming company, right? They're a French conglomerate, but I think they see the success of Ubisoft and the growth of the games industry, and they just kind of want a slice of the pie. And slowly but surely, I think they own over 25% of the company right now. So that's a very substantial amount. And they're speeding up acquisition of shares. So a hostile takeover of the company is sort of inevitable at this point. It's just a question of when. I just kind of want to get your guys' thoughts on that. If this is right, wrong, and what should Ubisoft do, and what can they do? Jordan, you want to go first?
Are hostile takeovers ever right?
Yeah, I mean,
I think is the question.
I think
that's something.
It's a business
Well,
thing,
now
right?
you're asking if capitalism is right, and that's a
it's
that's
a little bit out of the scope of this podcast, I think. But
I mean, I certainly feel bad for the CEO of Ubisoft and his brother that kind of run the company and sort of brought the company up to where it is. You know, they spent their lives building it, and now it's about to be taken away from them.
reminds me of Rare. I think they were in a similar situation. Microsoft bought 51% of their shares, and then that's how they became affiliated with Microsoft versus Nintendo. They had no control over that or choice.
Yeah.
So that's the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
As far as the gaming industry has seen, I think. Ubisoft, the first 9 months of 2016, had 811.3 million euros in sales. They've been doing really well. They've had record back catalog sales, accounting for 57% of their total sales. So their old stuff is selling more than their new stuff.
Ubisoft's doing quite well.
Yes.
Is the bottom line. Do you guys think they'll continue to do well if Vivendi takes over the company and sort of takes the steering wheel?
yes. Because if Ubisoft has been able to be successful with the horrible things they've been doing for the past 10 years, they're not going to stop being successful.
All right, Connor's got a very strong viewpoint on this. I personally disagree with him. I mean, Ubisoft makes engaging games. They make fun games, and they are dedicated to fan feedback. Like when they released Assassin's Creed Unity in the state it was in, I mean, it was
they did release
they did release it, right? But they polish it to a point where it's now an excellent game.
But they've also been releasing the same Assassin's Creed game for 5 years.
Yeah, and then they stopped when people were complaining about that, and they're taking time to polish and work on this Assassin's Creed, and they'll release it when it's ready.
And they're still making people use their horrible Uplay client, which, I mean, Origin's one thing, but it's annoying to have 2 clients. But Uplay's a bad client.
I mean, I will agree with you there, but
well.
I do think Ubisoft, I keep forgetting it's Ubisoft, not Ubisoft. Ubisoft is a company that's not trying to screw over their fans / buyers, unlike certain companies.
I disagree, I think, because they did the season pass stuff just as much as EA did, and everybody hated EA for it. You know, they did all the same stuff. They crammed multiplayer into games it didn't make sense in, and then sold a bunch of DLC for it.
Hey, I love the Assassin's Creed multiplayer.
Do you?
I actually do. I like
right.
it a lot. But anyway, we're kind of off topic. We're talking about
it's
Vivendi's.
hard for a lot of these bigger gaming companies to do favorable business practices that these smaller companies can do because they have an obligation to their shareholders to constantly increase the value of the company and sales and set these new records. So doing questionable pricing models is just something that they have to do. I don't think there's not much freedom that they have like the indie developers do.
Right.
So that's something you have to consider as well.
But getting back to Vivendi, I mean, Connor's response aside, a company with no prior experience making games is suddenly in charge of one of the biggest games companies in the world, So what happens at that point?
We don't know what they're going to do. They might keep them in as the CEO and are they CEO and CTO, the brothers, or do you know what exactly they control?
Yves Game On, I butchered the name, but he's the CEO of the company, and
Okay.
and his brother's the head of a major division. I forget off the top of my head.
Okay. They could keep them in. They don't have to replace them or anything. But they have them having a majority, and the board is going to put pressure on them to perform better if they're not performing well. But it
Right.
sounds like they're already performing well. I don't see a major change in corporate structure, at least the first year, because they're going to be really evaluating how that company can be improved.
I mean, you're a business major, so you know more about this than the rest of us. But to me, just the sort of silent buying shares without any remark, Ubisoft constantly saying that this isn't welcome, we don't want this happening, please stop, and then just silently buying more shares. That seems very shady to me, right?
Well, if the brothers are so successful as well, they could always leave and start another company.
I mean,
All
that's
right,
asking
Jordan.
you to abandon your baby, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that simple.
I mean, is it not that simple? A lot of companies,
I mean, they'd be leaving a lot of talent behind.
Certainly.
You know, they didn't build it alone.
Isn't that what some of the developers that made MW2 did?
Modern Warfare 2?
Yeah. They left to make some other company that made Titanfall.
This has happened
Is this
several
Sledgehammer?
times in the industry.
You referring to Sledgehammer?
No.
No,
A
Titan.
different game?
Uh,
A different company? I
who
can't
made
think.
Titanfall? I can't remember.
Isn't Titanfall Sledgehammer?
I don't think so.
Respawn.
Respawn, yeah.
Yeah,
Respawn,
okay.
and EA keeps not being.
No,
very
I mean
good to
it could
Respawn.
I could certainly see a lot of the talent leaving, and maybe if the brothers want to form a new company, forming a smaller offshoot.
They could do
of
that.
that,
Peter Molyneux, he was in charge of Lionhead. I think he founded that company that Microsoft ended up buying later. He
Mhm.
left that company and created another one after that as well.
And
Yeah.
that went great for him.
I mean, there's others examples as well. I just
His
off the
name
top of
is
my head.
Sin.
Yeah, Peter Molyneux is not a
The Rare
name.
founders left and started another company. I'm pretty sure as well.
Platonic.
There's-
Platonic. You're their Kickstarter
there's
for
several,
ukulele.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I would argue that they're doing decently.
They're doing
that,
alright,
you know,
Yeah. I mean, it's just I don't know. It's a
just
very
much easier said than
isn't
done. I think.
the Metal Gear guy? Doesn't he start another
Hideo
company as
Kojima.
well? Yeah.
yeah.
He'll do well. I
Yeah.
don't
No,
think
he'll
there's
he'll
any-
be absolutely
yeah.
fine. But
There's a lot of examples of this, so I wouldn't say that it doesn't
So,
happen often.
okay,
I would say
so
it happens a lot.
let's say hypothetically the talent is preserved. What does Ubisoft do at that point? Are they just releasing cash-in games keep in mind they'll still Ubisoft will still own Assassin's Creed and
Right.
Far Cry, right? What happens to those beloved franchises?
Rayman.
Yeah, Rayman. I mean, are they just going to let's put out 3 Assassin's Creed games a year and they're all going to be crap, but let's just sell them,
It depends how well
See-
they sell.
I mean, if this company has enough money rolling around to buy Ubisoft, I feel like they can't possibly be that stupid.
Yeah,
they've
no,
definitely
they-
done some research.
They will certainly
Or at least talk to people.
I agree with you. They're not going to be stupid about it, but I do think there will be a market change in these games going forward if they're not produced by the same creative force that they were being produced by.
Same leadership.
And thank you. Yeah. So yeah, I'm interested to see how that'll impact sales and how fans of those series will react because, I mean, think what you want of Ubisoft. They've got Assassin's Creed, Far Cry, and now The Division are some of the biggest games that are available
I
right
think
now.
they're very concerned with feedback as well. Just after the Rabbids game started doing terribly, they stopped for a bit. with
Right.
That franchise.
Same- I mean,
And
yeah,
there's rumors they're bringing it back. as
Assassin's
they're
Creed was the
unfounded,
same
but
way. They stopped, and
Yeah.
it was an annual release like Call of Duty. Yeah.
Watch Dogs 2 has been lukewarm, and I
Apparently,
think they're really,
it's a great game.
Yeah,
It's just
Watch
the
Dogs
first
2
game
the first
didn't.
game soured
Yeah.
people too much. I
Yeah.
hear Watch Dogs 2 is good.
Yeah.
yeah, they're
I got a free
evaluating
copy
that.
and haven't played it yet.
Oh really?
Yeah,
Nice.
with my graphics card. I haven't played
Yeah.
it because the first one was so bad. I'm the worst.
So I mean, I think they're a decent company.
Yeah, Ubisoft certainly, but
I'm just not.
I mean, I think I'd feel better if Vivendi put out some sort of statement. Just anything. But then I feel like I feel like they can't say
until they
that
bought it,
until they
yeah.
bought it. Otherwise, it's kind of like Ubisoft is just kind of like. It just makes a very uncomfortable environment,
And if they bring too much attention to it, there might be other buyers that try to come in and
Well, at this point, they own
drive
over
up the price.
25%.
Right.
Yeah,
but
so I feel like
if
they're pretty committed.
Someone could really, if they're really interested in getting a majority stake, someone could buy those shares they need for the majority and really charge them a lot of money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is unfortunate that Ubisoft will. I mean, if and when this happens, they will no longer have like sovereignty over themselves.
That's what happens
They'll
when you
be
have public stock.
under
Anybody can
someone's
buy it.
umbrella.
I mean, that's the risk you take.
Yeah, it's
And that's
I don't
a
know.
really common problem in the games industry. I mean, being a developer and going to a publisher, you're making that sacrifice. You don't have sovereignty over yourself.
Right.
It's in the media industry. In
Yeah, but
general. The
developers
Beatles
go to
signed away
publishers.
their rights.
Right. I was just
Right.
saying, developers go to
Well,
publishers.
publishers go to
Vivendi's
developers too.
kind of like
I mean, developers don't always have a choice. They want to keep making games and they can't do it for free. You have to have a publisher
Mhm.
sometimes. Especially for these bigger games, I mean, some indies can get away with, burning their life savings, but
I don't know. The nature of this takeover and just the response from the Guillemot brothers and just Ubisoft's as a whole has got me like kind of down on the subject. Like I don't want them to buy Ubisoft, and I kind of want them to remain themselves. But that's the business world, I guess. Any final thoughts on the takeover? Sounds a lot more threatening than it probably is.
I think it could be exciting. I think Ubisoft has some changes that I think need made, and if Vivendi goes in and makes those changes, I'll be pretty happy.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a wild card right now. It could go in either direction to either extreme, I think.
It'll be I think it would be probably the biggest hostile takeover in the games industry. in
I
recent
think so,
times,
too.
So it'll
Yeah.
be really interesting to see what happens.
Our next topic,
Our next topic I came up with, we're going to talk about fan games. Because mainly, I mean, the ones I'll be talking about are mainly Nintendo fan games. Because Nintendo has a huge tendency to take down fan games recently. There was another Metroid 2 remake, which is the actual title of the game.
Pokemon Uranium.
Yeah, Pokemon Uranium. There were a bunch of Pokemon games that got taken down, I'm pretty sure. A bunch of smaller ones. And I think we should talk about them ethically, like whether or not we think people should be allowed to make fan games for free and distribute them. And also, like, why people make them.
Yeah, I mean, Nintendo's certainly within their right to strike down these games, but I think they're being foolish because these games are a labor of love for their IP, and I think they only serve to spread good vibes for their IP. That's just my kind of stance on it.
See, I kind of...
It's when they start selling them, then that's not okay.
I kind of disagree, because I could see, like, Pokemon Uranium, stuff like that existing. If I got my Pokemon fill from that, there's a good chance I wouldn't have bought Sun and Moon. Like, if it was good enough,
I see, yeah.
if the quality was high enough that I didn't want to buy a mainline Nintendo game anymore, then I wouldn't.
Mm.
If I could get the same service for free, I would just do that, probably. And so I totally see why Nintendo took that down. What I don't see is why they took down another Metroid 2 remake when it's a remake of a game, and also it's a series that they are just not even touching and haven't forever.
Perhaps they're secretly developing
know.
a remake for Metroid 2.
I find that
We
really
don't know.
unlikely.
Retro's been working on something for 2-3 years. We don't know what
I
that
keep
is.
saying it. There's a Metroid game coming. It's happening.
I refuse to let myself get excited for that.
But yeah, it's definitely. I've definitely played fan games in the past, and that's an interesting point you bring up. A lot of the fidelity in these fan games are so high. Like, it's like Nintendo, but just a few points off, right?
Right.
So, like, that certainly has the potential to cannibalize sales.
Right, and I was just talking this isn't Nintendo anymore. This is Sega. Last episode, I talked about Chris Whitehead, who's coming in to make Sonic Mania.
Mm-hmm.
He started as a Sonic Van game developer, and Sega, actually had a brain on their shoulders and hired him,
Right.
because
So
he was doing a better job than them.
that's actually a really good point. These fan games can serve as insane resumes, right?
Right.
Like,
And I think
if
that's why
I
a
was
lot
at
of people make 'em.
Nintendo and saw Pokemon Uranium, I would be like, come on the Pokemon team and actually do this instead of, illegally doing it.
I mean, that's actually how Miss Pac-Man happened as
Mhm.
well. It was a bunch of guys, and game copyright wasn't so rigid, like the laws
Right.
it hadn't been like settled yet. And they were making basically a hack that you would put in a Pac-Man machine to make it do different things. And they were going to release that and sell it, and legally nobody could stop them yet. And so they called the creators of Pac-Man, and they're like, hey, we're either going to beat you in court or you can hire us.
Yeah.
And so they hired them and made it Miss
That's
Pac-Man.
awesome.
Yeah.
Namco. made
It
Pac-Man.
wasn't
Didn't
Namco
they?
yet. No. It was Midway.
Midway.
Namco made it in Japan. I think Midway made it in the US or something. I know the people they had to call was Midway.
Okay.
But you're right, Namco is the owner now. Yeah.
So, Jordan and
It's a
Ken,
confusing history.
you guys have stayed
Yeah, it
silent
sounds like
for
it.
this topic. Have you guys played any fan games, and what are your thoughts on fan games?
I'm a fan of My Little Pony, so the fan base, the Brony fan base, have made several fan games that I've seen. Couple which are really good, and some have been poor. One of them was called Fighting is Magic, which is like a Street Fighter style.
That one got DMCA'd, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
My roommate was a brony last year.
But the creators are actually releasing it. It's on Steam Greenlight right now. It's called Dumb Fighting Words. They kind of changed the art to not be like copyright, and I've kind of been following that. I don't think it's gonna be released anytime soon, though.
Yeah, I mean, so it kind of sucks that some of that stuff gets DMCA'd, especially like when you're taking a medium that isn't in games and making a fan game of that. Because like I've had an idea for a Steven Universe fan game kicking around in my head for about 6 months now, and I haven't started it yet because I don't want to get DMCA'd, especially not by something I love so much, you know. And a lot of developers will make a fan game just because it's like you can attach that property to yourself, kind of, and it makes it really easy to get your name out there. And then, oh no, we got yelled at, and then you switch it out for different assets, and suddenly it's an original game, and
Like-
you have a fan base already.
But yeah, like also like sometimes they'll like change the name of the game because there's another one I followed in the community. It used to be called Fallout Equestria, which is a Fallout game based on the Pony universe. But like it's funny because
That concept just sounds so wrong.
yeah, I know, but it's topic fan games. But so like Hasbro actually doesn't have Equestria copyrighted, so they could keep that name. But Fallout is, so they changed it, and it's completely legal now.
So that's like what I was saying, like everything, all that work they did is still useful. They got to keep their fans, but they kind of swindled that property holder, right? They used their product, without giving them anything to boost yourself.
See, that's the line I think you can't cross. You can't profit from it in any way, right? I think it needs to be purely a labor of love.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to draw the line between a fan game and fan art,
Yeah.
So would you
I
say?
think the line is if the quality's at a certain level, it's a fan product as opposed to a fan project.
Yeah.
Sorry, I cut you off.
Would you say it's all right if they made this game, but then distributed it for free?
See, I think it's totally all right of all these companies to be telling people to stop.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I also think in a lot of cases it's a stupid action to take. Because, I think I would be incredibly flattered if somebody wanted to make a fan game of my games, but I don't intend to be making sequels. If I was intending to make sequels, I would not be happy with people potentially doing what I do better than me and doing it for free.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally understand Nintendo's stance.
Does it make more sense for like a game company to stop like fans from making their own games than like say like a TV show company making a fan game of a TV show because they're not
like a fan flick or something. Yeah.
Yeah. For like a TV show, and like the fans made their own animations, which they have, and they have been DNC'd. So.
Jordan, do you have anything to say about this?
These companies, I'm fully against fan games. These companies got to protect their intellectual property. And even there are some great fan games out there, but there's also some really bad ones, and those can hurt their brand and hurt the company's sales. So I think it's not worth the risk for them to do that. That you could easily make your own creative game and your own creative characters. But at the same time, I do see the struggle with that. Copyright in the U.S. is crazy. Mickey Mouse is still copyrighted, and they made him in like 1920 something. They keep extending that. That's ridiculous. We're the first generation that can't use the last generation's like culture, and I think that's really damaging to innovation in the creative space. So just in general, there's
just because the copyright laws are so strict in this country.
They need to make them a little bit more friendly, but they need to be followed. They're for protection of these companies and these brands.
I think I fully agree with you, Jordan, there.
Yeah, you mentioned that bad games can damage the brand. I mean, for most of these fan games, isn't it like explicitly stated that like this is what is inspiring this project and this is not an official product of X company?
Like Minecraft said they were inspired by Dwarf Fortress. They didn't make Dwarf Fortress 2.
You
know what I mean?
No, I understand.
Right. And it's a weird thing that they said that, because those two things are not very similar.
Yeah. That's just something I thought of.
Yeah, no, you're right. They did say that.
Yeah, no, it's a very interesting beast for sure. I think fan games, when shared, I think more privately rather than publicly released, are okay. But you guys have sort of swayed my opinion. I do think now that it's for the best interest of all parties if these fan games don't get massive releases.
Well, I also want to say, these guys making fan games, you can tell their intention right from the beginning. If they announce an incomplete game, they are in it for money. They are in it to get a following. They're in it for personal gain. If they finish the game and release it, they did it for love. Because once you've released a finished game on the internet, it's there forever. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So if they really actually cared about what they were doing and weren't in it for personal gain, then that's what they would be doing.
Yeah. So kind of like with Pokemon Uranium, when
the game was it was done.
Yeah, it was done, but Nintendo issued the takedown and it was sort of released illicitly.
Yeah, I can absolutely. If I wanted that game right now, I could still get it.
Yeah.
No problem. Same with another Metroid 2 remake.
Any concluding thoughts, guys?
Make your own games.
Yeah.
Make your own games. Yeah.
Game development's my passion.
Yeah, that's sort of a meme around here. All right. I think I'm going to turn it over to Jordan for our final topic, which is the new Nintendo 2DS and a discussion of the 3DS line as a whole. Jordan?
So for the 2DS, a lot of people on the internet think that it was a crazy idea since the Switch came out, and Nintendo is kind of targeting both the console and the handheld market they previously differentiated between. And this is a quote from Reggie that just came out today, talking about why they released the 2DS XL. He says, "There's a visual impact difference between these two items, and we believe in our market by having these three different variants. The Nintendo 2DS, the original one, really focused on that entry-level gamer, the 4, 5, 6-year-old that's just getting into gaming, but wants to play Mario Kart, wants to have a Super Mario Brothers experience, wants to play Pokemon. And we feel the Nintendo 3DS XL at $199, that it's a fully featured product, that it is, if you will, the Cadillac of handheld gaming."
Oh, wow.
And then we heard from consumers, boy, I wish there was something in between. So the 2DS XL at, I think it's $149.99 is going to be the retail for it. It's in between the Cadillac and the starter model.
So my question, these all play the same games though, right?
Yes.
Well,
the new ones do.
Yeah, the new
He's
DS
talking
line.
about just the
We're
new
all talking
line.
about the new line though.
Yes.
So is the difference simply just so why does having 3D make it a Cadillac is my question, I guess.
It's a premium feature. I mean,
Yeah, I use it occasionally. Like, not very often, but
Right.
like every once in a while I want to get really immersed in my Ocarina of Time. Or my Monster Hunter,
But
I'll turn it on.
I don't know. I feel like
If I'm at my charger, I
I
might
feel
have
like
it on.
deep down Nintendo's not even too hot about the idea anymore. Like Pokemon Sun and Moon were 3DS games. They didn't have a 3D mode.
That's because Game Freak couldn't get the frame rate high enough. Let's be real. That had nothing to do with Nintendo not wanting 3D in the game.
yeah, their other titles are still all 3D supported.
I will say that it's certainly the idea of glasses free 3D is super cool. And when they first announced the Nintendo 3DS, it was just like, this isn't possible. And then when I saw it, I was like, wow, this is really cool.
Yeah, and I think 3D gaming is a way better experience than a 3D movie. At least it has been for me. Like
I think
more.
I would agree with that. I think 3D movies, like the 3D in the
3D
movies
movies
I've
are
seen, are just
stupid.
extraneous and
Yeah.
don't need to be there. So for the new Nintendo DS line, the 3D is like of a better quality than the original.
It has a face tracking camera.
Yeah, I actually haven't tried it on that. I would be interested in
I have
checking
a
that
new
out.
3DS. I can let you try sometime.
Nice.
It's a better experience for sure.
Yeah.
I always even say like the games have gotten better at doing it. I think play some of the earlier like games for the 3DS, and like if you turn on the 3D, it looked really terrible. But then some of the later ones, they made it to look like way better.
Yeah. I mean, as with any piece of hardware, the longer it's on the market, the better the developers can create content for it and extract power from it.
Right, and I think I wouldn't fault anybody. Like I wouldn't fault Nintendo for releasing the new 2DS XL. Like. Because they've done this before. They did it with the DSi. Like
Yeah, they have so many iterations for their handheld.
At the very end of a console's lifetime, they'll release an iteration, and they've always done it. It seems like
Mm-hmm.
like they did the Game Boy Micro. And it's just it's good business. They make money on it every time.
Mm-hmm.
They still have a strong lineup coming up this year.
Yeah, I mean, and if anybody, it's a good looking device too. I mean, I thought it looked sleek.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
What was the price on it again?
$149.
yeah, that's a good price.
Yeah.
And like, the DS has a really good lineup of games. I think.
Certainly does.
Or the
yeah.
3DS, sorry.
Yeah, it has a good back catalog
And it also
right
has
now.
it can play DS games.
And they're still fully supporting it. There's more, I think, games coming out Nintendo's announced for the 3DS than for the Switch.
Right.
There's
Yeah.
Miitopia is coming out. There's
So actually, that's huge. So even the new Nintendo 3DSs/2DSs can play DS games?
Yeah.
yeah.
Really? I
Yeah.
thought they took that feature out.
No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I
so
was playing Pokemon Silver.
so
the other
that's
day.
like you
Or
could
Soul
only
Silver.
play DS games for your entire life and
Oh,
never
yeah,
run
there's
out of
so
things
many
to play.
games.
Yeah.
No, and like the 3DS, I don't know that many people that play regularly, but there's a really good lineup. There's Kirby Robobot. I have a huge back catalog I've been wanting to get to. Kirby,
I have a few games as
it's
well.
like I never finished. Like I didn't play Animal Crossing much. I just got really busy at some point and didn't finish.
Fire Emblem.
There were a bunch of Fire Emblem
Yeah.
games. There's Bravely Default and Bravely Second, which I hear are really good JRPGs.
Mhm.
I think they're JRPGs.
Yes, I think so.
It had a good lineup of games that, you know, if you missed them, 2DS XL is a good opportunity.
Definitely,
in.
yeah. I have the original Nintendo 3DS.
And then this
So-
product's probably not for you.
No, I actually wouldn't mind a new Nintendo 2DS or 3DS. I just don't think I could justify spending anything over $100 on it. I was actually part of the. Do you remember the ambassador program for the
Yeah,
people who
I was
first
in
bought
that,
it?
yeah.
I was in that.
Okay,
and
so I bought. This is a rant here. I bought the new Nintendo new 3DS, and it
Your-
did not.
your games didn't
excel. My
transfer?
games didn't transfer. I was so
Oh,
upset, and
I
I
would be-
sold my old DS. Like, it wipes your memory when you do that transfer thing. So all the old games got wiped off my old one.
That's terrible.
Yeah, so those are just gone. I'm very upset. I'm still mad. I hadn't beaten any of them.
This is why physical games are better than digital ones.
This is why Nintendo is terrible at digital distribution, and why I'm never gonna buy another Nintendo digital game.
Yeah, we've spoken about that before.
Personally, I think Nintendo's just going to ride this wave of the 3DS and go as long as they can, but I don't see that line having a successor. I think the Switch is going to combine that for Nintendo. And
Yeah, I
for them
agree
to
with you.
focus all their resources on making Switch games, I think would be a better decision
I
for
think
them
that's
as a company to survive in the current economy of the games industry at the
I'm
moment.
not. I'm not convinced though for third parties that that's the right play, because like, it's the Nintendo Switch. When you play a game on it, you're expecting a level of graphical fidelity way higher than you expect on the 3DS.
Mhm.
So like, if I was making a game,
There's
my
there's
games don't
definitely
look that good.
a distinct
I'm gonna be more comfortable.
a
on
distinct
3DS.
line in the sand, right? Like, so in 5 years, when there's a game released on the Switch, you can be like, oh, this was definitely more in line of like a handheld developer as
Right.
opposed to a That's an interesting notion, which kind of makes me think that maybe they'll continue their handheld with like a Switch Mini or something like that,
Switch
handheld
Mini
line?
is very
Maybe.
realistic.
to sort of just capitalize on the brand name of the Switch because it's been successful.
I don't know if that's a smart play though.
I don't know if it is either. Part of me finds the idea of them ending their line of handhelds for like that has been going on for decades at this point
Bananas. Yeah.
very strange. Like I can't believe that they'll actually do it, you know?
Well, they've been out. Mobile phones have been really hurting their sales as well.
Yeah. And they've tried. I mean, they've been trying to get in that space, with Mario Run. And
I think
Right.
I don't think they've successfully gotten into that space. I think I know a ton of people who played Mario Run.
but
that
who
don't-
spent money
It
on
didn't make that much money.
Yeah.
Did it
as
not?
much as
It
it didn't
didn't,
make as much
yeah.
as they forecasted.
Yeah.
But they're still learning mobile. This is like their third or second mobile game.
Yeah.
So it's their third. So
I think Animal Crossing will be a big one.
yes, they're slowly learning that, and I think they're going to get better at that, and that's going to convert more people over to Switch. Like Pokemon Go converted a lot of people to that new Pokemon game that sold really well. What,
Sun and Moon, yeah.
They
Right.
really sold well because of Pokemon Go, better than the previous Pokemon games.
Yeah, it
that
sold
came out
incredibly well,
recently.
yeah. But yeah, getting back to topic on the 3DS line, I don't know, just sort of like to sort of reflect on it. What were some of your favorite 3DS games? Like anyone?
Monster Hunter 4. Is it Ultimate? I don't even remember. I know it's Monster Hunter 4, and it was my first Monster Hunter game, and it was actually my first. Like I bought a new 3DS XL and Monster Hunter on the same day, and I've got to have like 150 hours in that game. It's so much
Wow.
fun.
Jordan?
I bought it just for Animal Crossing like a year
Nice.
ago. I was late coming to it. I've been a fan of the franchise since the
Animal
GameCube one.
Crossing's a good
So
game though.
yeah, I mean,
What's-
There's a huge library though. I'm excited. Like I could find these games used and at a good price.
Yeah,
and there's a lot that I can eventually pick up whenever I have more time to game and stuff. But I got Luigi's Mansion as well, and that was fun.
There's
The Dark Moon
definitely a vast library of 3DS games.
Which
Yeah.
one's your favorite Animal Crossing game?
one. You can't put me on the spot like that.
Okay, mine's the GameCube one.
So
The GameCube one
the-
was. There's been some good improvements. I'd have to say. I think I had to go with City Folk.
So the 3D,
Really?
the 3DS Animal
favorite?
Crossing was my first Animal Crossing, and I
Ye-
played it for a while, and I just couldn't get into it. Like I enjoyed
which
it,
one
but
did you
I
play?
wasn't. I enjoyed it, but it didn't addict me like it's addicted so many people that have played it.
Objectively, I think New Leaf is the best one, but
Is that the 3DS one?
yeah.
Yeah.
But I like the GameCube one the most because like the towns were more interesting. I think like they had
Yeah,
topography
three
and stuff.
three tiers. The
Yeah.
other ones don't have that. I like the acres in the GameCube one as well.
Yeah.
The rolling thing's kind of weird.
Yeah, I don't like the visual rolling thing that they do.
Yeah.
It bugs me.
What about you, Ken?
So I got it to play Pokemon, really. And then-
My answer is the same as yours then.
Yeah, but mine also came with the Zelda Link to Link.
Between Worlds.
Yeah, Link
nice.
Between Worlds.
Yeah,
That was a good game.
I hear that's a fantastic game.
I also played Kingdom Hearts, Dream Drop Distance, and the Pokemon.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's only so many consoles and so many systems that you can devote your attention to, and I certainly acknowledge that the 3DS has great games. I haven't played too many games on there aside from Pokemon and Fire Emblem, but I'm definitely kind of excited to see how Nintendo handles their handhelds going forward, and whether or not they're just going to consolidate with the Switch line.
Yeah, think about it. There's no competitors right now in that space. The Vita's kind of faded out.
The Vita's done.
And I don't
The
think
Vita-
Sony, I've heard no rumors or anything about Sony looking into doing a successor
I will say
to
it.
the Vita.
I said it once on the show. I'll say it again. Sony announces a Vita 2 at E3. I will eat my shirt on air.
I don't think it's going to happen.
It won't.
Me
It
neither,
won't.
Yeah, I think your shirt's safe.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, well, you, Ahmed, you're more PlayStation, right? Would you say you have a Vita, don't you?
Yes.
Would you say you played the Vita more than the 3DS because you're more into that ecosystem and those
Honestly, probably not. Actually,
brands? Okay.
that's how good the 3DS is as a handle. I mean, I play the 3DS very rarely, but when I play it, I play it. Like I'm glued to that thing when I'm into it. Can't really say the same for the Vita. The only instance I can say where I was glued to my Vita was when I played Persona 4 Golden, and I was so into that game. But as a whole, I would definitely say I've played my 3DS more than my Vita.
Me too.
Yeah. That's another thing I forgot to consider. If they really do consolidate with the Switch, we lose the two-screen Nintendo handheld. That's been such a staple for a long time, like with the touchscreen at the bottom.
I'm okay with that.
Consumers don't want two screens. Look at the Wii U.
Okay, you can't
I
make
don't think
that.
that's fair,
You can't make
yeah.
that. Look at the Nintendo DS.
Yeah.
Like that's a ridiculous statement to make.
The Wii U just didn't have
Consumers
good
don't
games.
want two screens.
Wii U didn't have good games?
No.
Are you kidding me?
I'm
I
absolutely
think when,
Consumers don't want two screens that serve no purpose.
right.
Two screens just for the sake of having two
You
screens.
don't need two screens. You can only focus on one at a time.
Yeah, but multiplayer games using 2 screens, like with the Wii U, there was a lot of potential there. that
Plus,
was
like, no,
untapped.
for the 3DS, I love having like menu systems or maps on the bottom screen while I have like the action on the top screen. It's
And
like
Yeah,
a
I
good.
what we
don't
can
really like
do
that.
to
I enjoy
combat
that.
that is you can use your phones as controllers on a lot of these devices.
What if someone doesn't have a smartphone?
Yeah,
Everybody has a smartphone today.
It's 2017.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
I mean,
Everybody
that-
has a
that was-
personal device in
that
their
was kinda
pocket.
said
You got to
in-
take advantage
That
of
was
that.
said
My
in
battery's-
jest, but like
my
it
battery's
is a
already
thing
almost
that
dead.
you shouldn't just assume. I think. You
My
know?
battery's dead all the time already. I don't need to
It,
need
that
my phone.
that
to
should
play
be
my
built
DS.
into the
And
device.
they're
I
just
think.
they're just gonna get better and better every year. Battery life and all
Battery
that
life
with the
hasn't improved
phones.
in a while,
So
though.
it has improved a little bit.
I mean, barely.
It has a
The
little bit.
lithium-ion battery technology hasn't changed a whole lot.
I
Something
think
else came
the
to
other
mind.
half of it is just the management of the software on
Yeah,
these phones.
it
It's
is.
more efficient and things
Um,
aren't running in the background. Sorry.
Getting back to the 3DS, I was just gonna say what I really like what they did. I like what they did with the faceplates.
Oh,
Right,
yeah.
so you
I
could
wanted that so
customize your 3DS however you wanted, and plus they released so many different
Okay,
like
I'm
limited
so-
edition 3DSs.
So the new
Like
3DS,
I was this close to buying a new 3DS for the Zelda one, the Zelda 3DS that they released. It just looked gorgeous.
They promised me they weren't releasing that in America, and I bought a new 3DS XL. 6 months later, lo and behold,
Yeah,
I'm still mad.
yeah,
Oh.
Was it the Link Between Past one?
I think that was the
Link
one.
Between Past, Link Between Worlds one.
Cause like
That's the one that I have.
I hate my new 3DS XL because it's too big. I wanted the like.
See,
the,
I like big electronics,
the
so
pixels per
I would
inch on-
definitely want to get one of those.
the pixels per inch on that thing is terrible. Like the screen's way too big. Everything just looks way bigger than it should. It doesn't look very good.
Yeah.
Animal Crossing looked way better on my old 3DS.
So
I want to see a 3DS, the ultimate 3DS, where like it can play 3DS game and the old DS games, but also play like the Game Boy games.
so
you got the
To see
eShop.
that. Oh yeah, I mean,
But I don't know. How hard would it have been for Nintendo really to include a Game Boy slot at the bottom of the machine like they did with the original Nintendo DS?
I mean, I have no idea. I don't know how exactly they did it.
I
on
feel
the
like they
DS.
only did it so they could charge for those games.
They're no longer
later.
producing Game Boy Advance games. They're not making as much money. It would make more sense. What they're doing with the digital is a lot more.
No,
in a
it
business
makes more
sense, it
sense.
makes a
Yeah,
lot more
absolutely.
sense.
It'd just be nice for us.
Now
you know?
there's those unlicensed retro consoles that have all these ports. That would be cool if one of them created a
Yeah.
handheld that can play all these games.
What's the legality of those?
Questionable,
Like, okay.
for sure.
You guys have any concluding thoughts on the 3DS line or the new Nintendo 2DS?
It's a good line.
Yeah, it's got a great lineup of games, and it's probably the best handheld you can get.
Best since the Virtual Boy.
Yeah. As with every show, we end off talking about the games we were playing or games that we recommend.
I've got one.
All right, Connor, why don't you start us out?
Okay. I lied. I haven't played any games this week. But I'm gonna jump back to one in middle school I played all the time. It's a game called Mabinogi. Any of you guys ever heard of it?
Oh, by Nexon?
Yeah.
I'm judging you a lot right now, but okay.
I was beyond addicted to this game.
All right,
I don't
okay.
touch this stuff now.
Well, if that's the route we're going with this one, I got a game.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
go. Okay.
just that's the path I've decided.
Okay.
So, Mabinogi was an MMORPG published by Nexon, made by DevCat, I think they were called. And it was this game that, like, it almost set out to do, like, a full fantasy life simulator kind of thing. Like, it had... I mean, I think RuneScape did a lot of the same stuff, but I thought Mabinogi did it better. You could, like, cook, you could build your own armor, and the armor that players could build was inherently better than the armor you could buy in the game.
Mhm.
So, like, the player-driven economy was huge because of stuff like that.
Right.
You could enchant stuff yourself. It was all... Like, really, once you got good at the game, you didn't talk to NPCs very much. The entire game was run, other than questing and stuff, and story, was run by players. And it was really cool. It had a huge PvP community. And, like, it really got into details. Like, you actually had to go to school. Like, an in-game day was, like, 10 minutes, I think. And you actually had to go to school every day for a week to learn magic. Something like that.
Like real... no, okay.
Like
so
in-game
okay,
days.
I got you.
So like you would go to school, try to get through it real quick, and then go do something else. But if you were late coming back or something, your teacher would get really angry and like make you start over. Stuff like that.
That's pretty silly.
Yeah, I loved it. It enthralled middle school me. And like, I don't know, it had like, most MMOs, you'd like just double click and wait for combat to happen.
Right.
Mabinogi had this like, all the skills had cooldowns and stuff, and it almost had a combo system you had to do. And you had to learn it. And it made the PvP really like rich and stuff. because like you would get stun locked and stuff, and you would stun lock other people.
Mm-hmm.
And there were like hidden skills, like you could watch an enemy do a skill enough times, and you could learn it. So all the enemies and all the players.
That's a really cool mechanic.
They were pulling from the same skill base. So I remember one time I was just wandering around with some friends, and I got attacked by wolves really early in the game, and that was how I learned counterattack. Was because I got attacked by a bunch of wolves using a skill I didn't understand.
Huh.
And, like, if you don't know a skill and you see an enemy use it, you can't tell. Like, a little bubble appears above them to tell you what it is, but it's just a question mark if you don't know what the skill is yet. And they also had a system where, like, you could set your level back to 1 every 2 weeks. So, like, you would level up to level 50, keep your skill points and stuff, but you would set your attributes back and, like, start fresh so that you didn't, like, reach a max level ever. So I had friends that were level 10,000 and stuff.
That's insane. It sounds like a pretty robust MMO,
Yeah,
though.
I was so into it.
Yeah, that's those MMOs can get you like that.
Yeah,
I think I'll go next. I'll follow that one up with the greatest shame of my life, MapleStory.
Oh my god, yeah, I played
Oh
that
my
too.
god, I love that game.
I secretly still love that game,
Yeah, me
even though I
too.
don't play it. But
The music.
so MapleStory, it's a 2D MMORPG where the whole gimmick is you can pick like one of 4 or 5 jobs. So these jobs can be warrior, magician, thief, pirate, or bowman.
They really expanded on that.
Yeah, and there are subclasses within these jobs and like different like hero versions of the jobs or like dark versions of the jobs or whatever. But you level up, and it's essentially just a game about seeing bigger numbers on the screen when it really boils down to it. Yeah.
It's so
It
grindy.
just strokes your ego. I mean, like, so the entire purpose of the game is to get better equipment so you can kill monsters more effectively, like with more damage.
Yeah.
So you can level up faster.
So that you could
So you could kill
a
more.
different
Yeah.
monster.
So you could get better equipment, and it's just like this disgusting loop.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just had this charm to it that like late middle school and even like early high school, and I even I played it a couple times in college.
Yeah, me too.
Um,
It's the music, man. I swear
it has like such charming, cute music that
Yeah.
just kind of like it's addictive.
And,
You
like,
know, it
the-
like gets
yeah.
in you, and the art style is very like pleasing to look at, and it's got like a huge community around it.
It had a really kid-friendly community. I remember when I was little, like, I had so many friends on there. Like,
yeah, I mean, and it's got like a pretty robust guild system too. There are like groups of friends that just get on to hang out or whatever.
Yeah. I played this before I got into Mabinogi.
Yeah.
The series has
Um,
been around for a long time.
Oh, yeah, it
as
was
a
like
kid,
2008 or something.
Yeah, no, it's
2006.
so it's like over 10 years old now. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
I think I had a pretty good international community too, because I'll be in China and I watch my sister play this game, and then finally getting computer, and I play that game. Is just
I mean, the art style of
Amazing.
that game, like considering the art style of that game, that's not surprising. It's very kind of like chibi Japanese anime.
yeah.
Like it's got that sort of style to it. But just like the gameplay and the setting,
It's from 2003.
no way.
Yeah.
My goodness. Okay.
it
Yeah,
aged
no.
well.
Yeah, it has. I mean, it still looks good.
Yeah, it looks great. I mean, that sort of art style never really depreciates. But I don't know. I really enjoyed it
It's still getting updates.
as a kid. I've lost disgusting amounts of time to that game. Like
Me too.
I've more than I will ever admit. I have it's a very addictive game too. Like I will say that
They've
as a
released-
warning.
It's on Steam now, and I've refused to download it through Steam because I don't want to know.
Yeah, no.
I don't need to know
Like
how
you
long
don't.
I played
It's
it.
like it was good while it lasted, but you never want to touch that again.
Yeah.
Is my kind of current stance on it. Like I have I'm not naming any names here, but I had a friend who got so addicted to the game in like I think early high school or something. He actually like stole his parents' credit card and like used it to spend like he purchased like a $200 hacked in-game item, which later got erased by mods. So he just like threw $200 that he didn't even own down the toilet.
That's rough.
And like and he legit like couldn't help himself just because he was so addicted to the game. So like
yeah, it has a real
it's
Skinner box
got
thing
it's got
going
a very it's
I mean, it's
got
absolutely just a Skinner
so-
box.
yeah, devious undertones there, but
Yeah.
definitely enjoyed it in my younger days.
Still enjoy it.
I
now
would
once
not
A year,
yeah,
so- but don't
would
tell
I recommend
anybody.
it? No. Don't play it. But
I'd
but,
recommend
but
Mabinogi.
give it a look. All right, Ken, what about you?
Well, you guys talked about a lot about Animal Crossing, but I like Harvest Moon series. That was a series I played a lot as a kid, and still play it now.
Which one's your favorite?
I've only ever played the Game Boy Color one, the Game Boy one, and the DS one.
Which DS one?
The first DS one.
Was it like Harvest Moon
Yeah,
DS?
Harvest Moon DS. I would say Harvest Moon DS is my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
It has, just because it has more content as the older games, but I always like remembered fondly of the older games. But I guess I like the DS one more. I recommend that game if you're into like the farming like simulator.
Farming sim, yeah. So I've definitely heard of Harvest Moon, but I've never played it. Is that all there is to the game, or are there RPG elements or something?
So it has like these harvest sprites element in the game. There's like these little fairy elves, and you're supposed to like rescue them. Well, in DS anyways, yeah, by doing different tasks. They're kind of like achievements. So every time, say, oh, so like. The sprites have different teams, like watering team, harvest team, stuff like that. So say if you want to unlock one for the watering team, you have to like water 10 plants. That'd be like their first guy.
Gotcha.
Overall goal, you're supposed to save the harvest goddess and then get married.
Can't you marry the harvest goddess?
Yes, you can. You have bachelorettes that you can go after. That's another little like objective in the game you can do. And you can marry the harvest goddess too.
So it's more than just a farming sim. It's got all these side objectives to keep you engaged.
Yeah, mining to upgrade your tools, fishing, earning profits.
So, I mean, Stardew Valley was inspired by this game,
Yes.
correct?
Right.
Yeah. No, it sounds like something I could be interested in. It's just Animal Crossing for some reason never clicked with me.
Well, Harvest Moon has an objective. Animal Crossing does not. So
Yeah, maybe that's what I
a
need.
pretty big
Yeah.
difference.
Jordan.
I don't know.
Oh, sorry.
You could argue that Animal Crossing has an objective as well, pay off all your debt.
Yeah, but like you can do that.
Is that even possible? Can you
Yeah.
pay off all
Yeah.
your debt? Okay.
And if you're trying,
I've just seen the memes online.
you
and
can pay
stuff.
off your entire debt in a week in Animal Crossing. Like it's not hard if you like want to min max everything.
In a
But I think
week.
it makes the game boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean I
Yeah, I read
you can make 100,000 bells in like
2 or
30
3
minutes.
weeks ago. I think it was the GameCube one. There's people that speedrun it,
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm excited to see that actually.
paying off all the loan.
That would be cool. That be in Harvest Moon, just to pay off like you just bought a farm on accident.
Why don't you round us off, Jordan?
So I don't know if I'm saying this right, but it's a Steam game that's free. It's called Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a Whirlwind Heist. And
That's
it's
a
made by
mouthful.
the co-creator of the Stanley Parable, the re-released one,
Oh,
William
I'm suddenly
Hug,
way more interested.
I believe
Okay.
is his name. And so you're this player in first person, and you're behind the scenes of an actual other video game that's happening, and you're like pulling levers and stuff, and
That's
making
really
things
cool.
happen in
Yeah.
the game for this other player. And then the narrator is like a narrator that's telling you what to do, and he promises that you'll get to play the game after you do all this stuff. And I don't want to give away too much, but it's a great game. You all should.
You
Yeah,
said it's
that's
free?
that.
Yeah, it's free. It's really quick. It's really quick, but they could have
That definitely sounds like
It's a
something
great
that would
game.
come out of the next
quick
game.
experience.
Like, it makes sense after Stanley Parable that
Yeah.
this is something
It's
they
great.
would do.
And then he also did after this, I think it's called the accounting VR or something. I don't know. You follow VR more than I do, Image, but
Budget cuts.
it's not. No, it's like accounting simulator VR or something, but it's not about accounting at all. It's the same kind of thing. It's a crazy experience. You should try that as well.
Interesting.
Yeah.
What was it? Can you say the name of the game one more time, please, for the audience?
Dr.
Dr.
Langeskov? Yeah. Dr. Langeskov, the Tiger, and the Terribly Cursed Emerald, a Whirlwind Heist.
Great title.
Yeah.
Practically, a novel, but great title. All right. Thank you guys for listening, as always, and thank you, Connor, Jordan, and Ken, for joining me this week. That'll do it. See you guys later. Bye.